What's going on, everyone? Happy Thanksgiving Eve. And yeah, we changed up the show times today because it is the holidays. Hope you and your family have a great holiday. But here on the Ryan Ripken Show, we got some work to do. It's our last show of the week, and we got a few things to talk about. There was some baseball news that we weren't expecting today, but the main reason we're going earlier today is because we get a chance to preview the Ravens-Bengals Thanksgiving game with former NFL executive, broadcaster, analyst. He'll be on the call on WestWood One. That's Mike Mayock. And yes, Mike Mayock, general manager of the Raiders a few years back. He will be in Baltimore calling the game. So thankful we get to talk to him, and thankful for each and every one of you, including you, Zach Bollinger. Bolly, how we doing?
I'm not going to lie. I put this jersey on, the old jersey, during the countdown. I was like, yeah, I'll wear this during the show. It is way tighter than anticipated, especially under a sweatshirt. I don't know how I used to wear this. This is my actual old jersey. I was Loyola changed jerseys, I guess, like a year ago. And I was gracious enough, or thankful enough, lucky enough, I guess, to receive one. So this is my old jersey. It is way tighter than I thought. Well, I should have put a test run on. I should have done a test run. Doing it over the sweatshirt was bold. So I'll probably keep this on for a few more minutes, but I feel the air in me just slowly constricting. Not sure how long we're going to keep this on.
So right now, what are you, if we're going to be honest, what are you? You're 6'3"?
Yeah, I'm like 6'3", 6'4". I'm probably in that like low 205, like 205.
What were you in high school when you last rocked that jersey?
Oh, I was maybe 175, 170. And That's pads on. That's like, and that's what's crazy is these are very, stretchy and stuff. It's just, I forget how tight this is. I forget that this slims you down. It's slimming. It definitely. So we'll see how long we keep this on, and how long I can keep air coming in.
Well, if you're looking to get back into your playing weight, Zach, I can help you out. I can kick your ass when it comes to some workouts, or we can just head on over to Mayock Clubs. By the way, hey, how you doing? We appreciate our friends over at Mayock Clubs, one of our partners here. And look, they have a Thanksgiving deal going, a Black Friday savings deal going that's running through the end of the month, November 30th. You can join Merit for the rest of the year for just $20.25, 2025. If you catch my drift right there. And then they're going to have a cyber sale moving into December. So appreciate Merit to Zach. We can help Zach get back into playing shape, drop a couple pounds. You look great, though. You look beautiful, Zach. You look comfortable in your own skin.
Don't know. I was going to say, I don't know if comfortable is the right word at the moment, but.
Well, you look great, and you can feel great or even better in 2026. But how do you spell $20.25, Zach?
MERRITT.
And when I move, you move.
Just like that.
Just like that. Appreciate you, Mayock Clubs. Well, before we have Mike Mayock join us, he'll join us here over the next, 15, 20 minutes. Why don't we get the baseball news a little bit out of the way? And it's actually related to the Baltimore Orioles here to start. Rock Kabako just tweeted this out at 1:02 p.m. So we're recording right now at 2:05, so just over an hour ago. The Orioles have two new hirings. Yeah. Well, one of them is Samuel Vega will be the lower-level coordinator of instruction, but it's the one that's the upper-level coordinator of instruction because it's Mike Schilt, former manager of the San Diego Padres, who just stepped down and said, hey, it's too much stress. I'm going to take a step back. And people thought maybe he'd take a year off, Zach, and instead he's going right back into the baseball world in a different position. And I am very intrigued with this for a lot of different reasons, but you're bringing a baseball guy into the organization. And that's, I don't think that was on anyone's bingo card, but I got to be honest, Zach, I ain't upset with that move.
No, not at all. I would say I'm not upset in the slightest, especially because this wasn't a guy who got fired in San Diego. This isn't a guy who they were like, hey, this isn't working out. He kind of caught San Diego off guard and was like, listen, I know we've done well together, but I just, I don't know if this is the thing right now. I don't know if this is what I want to be doing. Steps back, steps down, and is like, hey, good luck. I'm going to kind of, maybe do something else. We talk about getting good baseball people into the organization and good baseball people with experience around this younger coaching staff. And I think this hire on paper, we'll have to see how everything works out. This looks like a home run hire. This is a guy that you get in the building that has experience, that literally was just in the playoffs, fighting for a chance to go to the World Series, to go to the NLCS. So this was a very, I don't want to say out of left field, because obviously it happened, and but I don't think anyone had on their radar Mike Schilt. We had said maybe Mike Schilt for the Orioles manager. It's like that was a guy when he stepped down. It's like, oh, if he wants to manage, but maybe just go somewhere else, maybe a team like Baltimore, to get him to come in this kind of position, incredible hire on paper so far.
Yeah, and so for people to understand this, and I've talked a lot about philosophy, culture, and trying to create a way for your players and the instruction to go right from the minors to the majors and feel like there's a smooth enough transition. And by the way, there's going to be a learning curve because it's the big leagues. It's damn hard up there. These are the best of the best. You're going to be exposed. But the problem with the Orioles over the last few years is guys being able to adapt and also being able to make that impact when they're coming from AAA to the bigs. You look around at the organizations, you need to rely on your farm system throughout the season. And the Orioles, back in 2023, when the feelings were good in 2022, they did have success. But as you saw over the last 2 years, the depth was exposed, or more so, guys maybe weren't ready for what was being asked of them at the big league level. Whatever the reason may be, you needed some philosophical changes. I think this is one part of it, Zach. So I'm really curious to see where this move and how it kind of goes into that tie. And what I mean by philosophical changes, got to be better situationally. You got to be able to get the job done. And for the Orioles, talent, again, not an issue of talent, but executing with that talent is going to be the thing that I'm going to be watching here. And as much as the negativity around people give to the front office, I hope that people are realizing these are drastic changes from what they've done over the last X amount of years. You bring in a manager and allow him to pick his entire staff, essentially, in my opinion. And of course, they kept a couple guys that, Buck Britton being one of them, that I thought was great to keep. But you're also understanding and acknowledging our ways of what we've done, we need to tweak. And time will tell. The actions now of what happened is best going to detail, but they've already at least put their foot forward of saying, we need to change. Here's our first moves. And now let's see how that's put into focus. Because we don't really know how that's all going to go, Zach. Yeah. Like I don't want to sit here and harp on this too much, because we don't know yet what it's going to look like. But you want more baseball people involved? Well, there you go. You just got another one. And you're talking about making changes. Well, the Orioles have made some big changes in the organization as we push into 2026. So I'm really excited to hear. And also, we might have a chance to talk to one of those new pieces for the Baltimore Orioles down at the winter meetings next month. So, but that will be that. You have any other thoughts with that, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, I'll put it out there as well. Robert Suarez's manager now in the organization. I'm just saying. Maybe we lost the connection with his brother. Maybe that was not. We didn't see that coming. New connection. It's all about making new connections. There it is. There's your connection for Robert Suarez. But very exciting. And then I didn't get the screenshot, but also news broke that at least at the moment, it looks like, not sure the position, but Brandon Hyde is going to be joining the Tampa Bay Rays in some sort of capacity. The position's unknown, but looks like he will be going there. Good for Hyder. that's a good organization. Oh,
Yeah, right there.
perfect.
How does that happen, man? I'm just like that, Zach. Quick on my feet,
Quick.
quick on
Well,
my hand,
there we
not quick on
go.
my feet. Yeah.
Yeah, but there you have it. Brandon Hyde in an undisclosed role. I'm gonna be intrigued to see what that ends up being, but you knew Hyder wasn't going to take. It would have shocked me if nobody wanted him in an organization, and it felt like it was sooner rather than later that he'd be making a move somewhere.
And I actually like that landing spot for Hyder with Tampa. Tampa's track record, when you look at them, they've had a lot of people continue on and have success when they go elsewhere. But the bigger part here is that Hyde already had success in the big leagues. He's going to get another chance as a manager at some point here when he gets the opportunity. I do really believe that. So it's a good reset. Sit there, be involved with an organization that Tampa's still going to scratch and claw and figure out ways. And, Tampa's reputation is finding ways to win. And I'm sure Brandon Hyde's going to bring in pieces that he can help with. And I bet that they're going to help him continue to evolve as a manager once again. I want to reiterate, Brandon Hyde's going to get another job. Not going to be in 2026, but beyond, yeah, it's still going to be right on the horizon. And that was Robert Murray putting out the tweet right there, talking about that. So those are the two moves we've heard on that front, Zach. And the last little nugget here that we wanted to address or talk about, hey, we'll take it off the screen. It is that the Red Sox made the move for Sonny Gray. We discussed that yesterday and what that entails. We know that the Red Sox, just like many other teams, are going to want to bat. But specifically, they're looking for a potential backstop. And a name that's been floated around, if he's going to stay in Philly, he's going to go elsewhere, JT Realmuto. And so now there's pieces or rumors being thrown out there that the Red Sox could be interested in JT. I got to tell you, man, I think that fit would be really good for Boston, and I hate that for Orioles fans, but a guy like JT makes the most sense to me still going to a big market. I know that maybe he doesn't have that value he had 2 years ago, but this is still considered a top level catcher in my opinion in the game. And so hearing that I think would help their pitching staff, would also add a bat to that lineup in the Green Monster. And quite frankly, Zach, it would be a deal that would cost some finances here, but it's not a bank breaker by any means. So I think that that's going to be really. I'm going to keep following that, but the Red Sox, they should be in.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, I don't think there's much there anymore. I'm going to be honest. I think that ship has kind of sailed, but at the end of the day, 34-year-old catcher, that kind of is expected at that point. But like you said, this is a move that would pay dividends for how their pitching staff is handled and just really defensively. I mean, 99th percentile in pop time still. His caught stealing above average is in the 95th percentile. He actually, funny enough, is still 76th percentile in sprint speed for a 34-year-old catcher. You think of the wear and tear on the legs for him still to be able to put up that athleticism. Yeah, I don't think this is and actually funny enough, looking at he's still uses the whole field, but I would be intrigued in Fenway with that Green Monster if he does maybe see his numbers tick up, pulling the ball, getting maybe a few more doubles that were flyouts. So that would be very intriguing to see. But overall, I think this would be a move for the pitching staff and defensively, while also just getting a veteran in there that you can trust in big moments. He's going to know how to control the pitching staff, calm a pitcher down. Okay, how are we going to work through this? Been there, done that. This would be a good move for the Red Sox that seem to be, with such a young team, it seems like a priority this offseason has been getting some veterans maybe in there to kind of be the leaders and stuff like that. JT Realmuto is exactly that.
I mean, we talk about there's more to building a team than just let's go get the best guy out there. There's a culture, there's a fit, and can that fit to your team? And JT, I know you were just saying about the offense, Zach. I want to at least pump the brakes. He's still got some offensive juice. I'm not saying he's the offensive powerhouse he was before he came over from the Marlins to the Phillies. But if he was to replicate 12 jacks, 52 ribbies, and hit 257, hey, you know what? You're Boston. You'll take that. And by the way, he's caught 134 or more games in 4 of the last 5 seasons. Yeah, I'll check that off the box. And Boston, they could use a guy like that. You need those pieces. And if you can have a piece that can be a backbone for some of these young, talented players that they do have. They had Bregman last year. Maybe they bring him back. But I just think JT would make a lot of sense. And he would make a lot of sense for a contending team. And so if it's not Boston, it's somewhere else. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Phillies brought him back. I don't think it's going to happen, but wouldn't be surprised. Why? He has a value, and not just a value. He wants to win. Towards the end of his career, you want to go win and go find a place and go to a place you think has the foundation to succeed. So I'll be excited to see. So
yeah, and
we'll
also
get into that.
Fast,
yeah,
just real fast. I'm curious about his bat speed because he was, since they've been tracking it, 71st percentile in 23, 20 in 2024 it was the 70th percentile, dropped all the way to the 47th, and it feels like that really, like it looks like he was just dealing with something nagging because everything in that kind of aspect kind of dropped a little bit. They can get that bat speed back. I don't see why he can't replicate the above average seasons offensively he was having in 23 and 24. So that could also be a thing.
Yeah, catchers. I don't envy catchers. I got a lot of friends in that industry, as you know, Zach, and you get banged up. You get the absolute crap kicked out of you on the day-to-day. You get a foul ball off the shin, the leg, the face, the man region, all the places. I don't care if you wear a cup, it still hurts.
Yeah.
Guarantee on that. So the point being, you are battling through things constantly. And in sports, once a season starts, you're never 100% healthy. And in catcher, it's always going to be that continued battle throughout the season. So I want a gamer. If I'm a championship caliber team, JT Realmuto, he's a gamer. And we could ask our next guest on what he looks for with certain players and the ins and outs, because I think he's had a little experience with that and he's seen a lot. And he's had a lot of experiences himself. So if you guys are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe. And Mike, just give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Perfect. So I think it's the perfect time. Obviously, it's Thanksgiving time. Ravens, Bengals, that's going to be the Sunday night matchup. Joe Burrow's coming back, Lamar Jackson. Well, thought we'd get one of the people that's going to be there, going to be calling the game on WestWood One. Let's see. He's been an NFL executive, analyst, commentator, and had a day job in commercial real estate for 18 years. Let's bring on Mike Mayock. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great, fellas. How you guys doing?
Doing fantastic. I wanted to start off asking you, because with you have a very diverse background, and I always like to hear the beginning, the origin kind of stories. In baseball, it's the minor leagues, and there's some interesting ones. You had a unique perspective because it took you a while to break in, 18 years of doing one field where you learned a lot, and then you moved your way up in the broadcasting world to then an executive level. Along the way, do you have any story that sticks out to you that maybe other people wouldn't know, but you still remember to this day?
Well, I had an atypical journey. I was a journeyman NFL player, played 2 or 3 years in the league. I wasn't any good. I was 25 when I blew my knees out. By the way, I enjoyed your baseball conversation because I was a college baseball player too. So I was kind of a son of a coach and an athlete, and I went into commercial real estate because I was a graduate of Boston College and it was time to go to work. And about a year later, I was like, I can't live without ball. I started doing high school games on the radio around the Philadelphia area for free, just walking in, and ended up being people, because I had no name. It's like, okay, you're going to be a sideline reporter. All right. So I'm interviewing girlfriends. I'm interviewing mascots. I'm interviewing parents of players at Rutgers games. And ESPN gave me a shot on Canadian Football League. And I still had the day job. So one day I was leaving. I was in the office on Wednesday till about 7 p.m., went right to the airport, flight to Toronto, got there 11 o'clock Wednesday night, spent all day with the coaches and staff the next day getting ready for the Argos game that night. Did the Argos game that night, had a couple beers after, and got up at 5:30 or 5 o'clock and took the 6:30 flight back to Philly. And I was in my office by 8 a.m. making the coffee for commercial real estate. So it was kind of one of those deals where you had to find a way to make it work. And I was a no-name guy, and I was used to kind of being the grinder, and you do what you got to do.
It's a grind is what I'm hearing right there. It's a grind, and it's a process. It's a journey. And, hearing you talk about growing up, baseball, I'm glad you enjoyed the baseball conversation. I've had to deal with baseball my entire life, Mike.
Yeah.
My dad played, my uncle played, my grandfather coached. My dad played a bunch of games in a row, and, that's talked about. They got celebrated again. I can't believe people are celebrating just showing up for work, Zach, right?
I believe it. That's a big deal. That's a big friggin' deal.
Oh, it is. Hey, you know what? But Mike, I got to give him crap. I can't have his head get too big.
Well, you're
he
his
knows
son.
that I think yes.
That's your job.
Thank you. Yes,
I can admire and respect what he did, but you need to give him a ton of crap about it.
Exactly. That's exactly it. I'll defend him till the cows come home, but on the day to day, hey, you're just dad, and we're gonna go square up. Growing up, we're gonna go play basketball in the gym, and you're gonna try to beat me. I'm gonna try to beat you. I don't care that you had 431 home runs and 3,000 hits. You think that that's cool? Watch me hit this jumper in your face. You know. So, Mike, with all of this though, I've really, in hearing the baseball conversation, I think this is perfect for you. I'm a big culture foundation, and you mentioned about showing up's a big deal, and it is consistency. Building a team is a lot more than just going out to identify the best player. If that was that simple, then that would be the model for everyone. But there's glue guys, there's people that do dirty work that people don't understand, and the makeup of the player. Could you maybe just talk about that topic a little bit? And even an example of a player or somebody through the years where maybe it proved you right, or maybe proved you wrong, that I think would be a great learning lesson for people.
Look, the words that I locked in on from you in the baseball conversation, and again, right there, are culture and fit. And I'm a huge believer in both of them. From a culture perspective, when I took over as general manager of the Raiders in 2019, they're coming off a 4-12 season. They were kind of old. There was going to be a redo. We had to get younger, more physical. It was the perfect time to try to get the right kids in the building. So did we make some mistakes drafting? We did. However, we hit on a bunch of mid-late round guys and free agents. And we ended up having 5 all-pros that year in that draft, ultimately, and a bunch of glue guys that we got off the streets, and guys that just came in hungry and pissed off, chips on their shoulders. And, 3 years later, we took that 4-win team, we won 10, and we lost to the Bengals in the wild card playoffs on the 9-yard line with 4 shots to get it in and win the game. And they went on to the Super Bowl that year. So we kind of knew we were just about, we still needed some more talent. But from a culture perspective, and what happened that year, to your point, is that John Gruden was the head coach, and he got fired because of that email scandal. Mm-hmm. So we're 3-2, and we elevate a guy named Rich Bisaccia, our special teams coach, who I've known for 40 years. And Rich is the biggest culture guy I've ever met. I love him. He's like a Dan Campbell. He's like a Mike Vrabel. He's old school and tough, but his players friggin' love him. So he was the guy I've met in my life that could MF a guy on the field for 3 hours, up and down the field for 3 hours, And then I'd walk in his office after practice, and 7 or 8 of those guys are in there, and they're talking about their wives or their girlfriends or their kids or the problems they're having. So to me, that's culture. There's a respect that went both ways. And Rich Bisaccia was the guy that helped get us to those playoffs. And I think the Raiders made a huge mistake. He and I both got let go the next day after that Bengal playoff loss. And I think had Rich been kept there coming off a 10-7 season and the kind of culture guy he was, they've redone it with 4 different groups. And they haven't won any game since, basically. So it's really a good story. And big picture about building a franchise and ownership having to have the ability to get behind and back it.
You know, it goes deeper than this, right? It always does. It's not just what you see on the surface of when you got a great player out there, you're going to get confidence, right? You know, we'll talk in a minute about, hey, Joe Burrow's coming back. Joe Burrow coming back means more than just that he's a franchise quarterback and he's got ice in his veins. He can bring a level of confidence to the Bengals because of his stature and what he's done. But in general, if you don't have the culture and the attitude set in the foundation, you aren't going to find ways to win. You know, baseball last year, Mets spend all this money. Steve Cohen, hey, you get $1 billion. It feels like, hey, you get $1 billion. It feels like that's what they want to throw out. And yet the Mets tanked down the stretch and was the team on the Mets in 2024 a more talented team, or sorry, the team in 2025 more talented than 2024 that went to the NLCS? No, but they had the mojo. They had the culture. They had this connectiveness that they didn't have down the stretch in 2025. You know, one of those players that I'm also thinking that you hit on was Max Crosby. I remember that. I remember watching the Hard Knocks 2 at that time, and I'm like, man, you talk about being a bad mother effer. That dude, I was like, damn, he had that edge. You know, out of curiosity for a guy like him, when you know, obviously you evaluate, and he falls to being a mid-round guy, but man, his intangibles, I mean, it seemed like that was apparent as soon as he walked in your door. Do you remember like a first interaction you had with him of being like, oh yeah, oh damn, this dude's the real deal?
But again, here's the conundrum of being an evaluator. So when you put his tape in, you saw this big, long, skinny, pale dude running around with his hair on fire. Okay. Yeah. But he was undersized from a weight perspective. Was he going to be able to get 20 more pounds on his frame? And the biggest issue, and all 32 NFL teams knew about it, was he had an addiction problem. Okay. So that's the risk reward thing that every GM deals with. Okay. He was a talented kid. He was a little bit underweight, and we all knew he had a drinking problem, a little bit of a drug problem. Okay. So at what point do you deal with that? And how do you deal with that? Okay. Yeah. So we took him at, I think, pick number 106, as he constantly reminded me. And his rookie year, he came in second for the defensive rookie of the year. And right after that, he basically went into rehab. Okay. And his girlfriend, Rachel, who's now his wife, was really the one behind that. And we supported it. I went and visited him. Gruden spent some time with him. You know, as a franchise, we were 100% behind him. And he's one of the most special kids I've ever met. My wife and I were at the wedding last year. You know, he's just something. He's everything he does, Ryan, he's all in. He's an all-in guy. So even though they're playing poorly, what do you hear every week? Hey, yeah, I got in a fight with one of my other defensive guys last week, but it's because we both want to win, right? Yep. And so to me, if he keeps throwing numbers up like he is and playing like he is, playing on a bunch of bad teams, he's got Hall of Fame potential at the end of the day.
He does, and I'm glad you mentioned that whole backstory with him, because that is when you're evaluating talent. You know, you have to weigh, does the talent outweigh what could be the negative? Are you willing to take a risk? Are you willing to then help him be in a position. Obviously, I love the fact he sounds like he has a strong backbone in his wife, girlfriend at the time.
Yep.
That is so foundational. And then on top of it, you're there. You guys are there to give the full support, to give that, and see if this really talented kid can continue to flourish. And he did. And I'm just saying, if he doesn't want to be a Raider, I know a lot of people in Baltimore would like him. I think every other NFL team, Mike, would like him. He's pretty damn good.
Yep.
So I got to ask you then, you're coming to do the games. You've done so much extensive work throughout the year and through the years. And does it ever get old? Do you ever sit there and go, this is all right, I've seen it all? Or do you feel like you learn something each time you go out there and then you have that appreciation that still drives you?
I think there's two things, Ryan. I think number one, again, I'm a coach's son, and I grew up just loving ball. And it could be football, basketball, baseball. That's all I did all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I had this passion for learning the game of football. So at the end of the day, every time I put a tape in, I learned something. I put Baltimore's stuff in the last couple of days. And I'm like, wow, I knew Kyle Hamilton was a good football player, but wow, Malachi Starks is coming along. This is pretty cool, getting better. Good job by DaCosta right before the deadline, 41. Draymond Jones, that trade. That's a real deal for them, inside-outside presence. Offensive line, maybe not as good when they're young. 4 of the 5 guys are young, and they still need to grow up a little bit. I don't think Lamar looks like Lamar right now on tape with all the lower body injuries. I don't see the burst. I don't see the explosion, and it shows up with the statistics from sacks all the way to what his rushing numbers are. And when he's down, that whole offense is down. So when I watch this tape, like I take more notes than you can even imagine. I'm old school and I'm writing everything down and I'm so I get kind of caught up with the tape. And I love that. That's what my dad, when I was 8 years old, he and I watched tape together. And so to me, that's a big deal. And the second thing, Ryan, is just the relationships. Like when I get to Baltimore tomorrow and walk out on the field, if I see Ozzie, I'll give him a big hug. Eric DaCosta, John Harbaugh and I have been buddies since he was a special teams coach in Philadelphia 25 years ago. I mean, every field I walk on, I can hug guys and know that we kind of all feel the same way about the game of football. And I think that's special.
That is special. I can't believe that 25 years John Harbaugh was in Philadelphia. 17 years now he's been the Ravens head coach. Just crazy to put that in mind. But I love your descriptions and the passion and the story you brought up of being 8 years old. I can relate to that. At 10 years old, I wanted to eat ice cream. My dad has his notebook out watching all these MLB games. He recently retired. And I'll be honest, Mike, I didn't want to watch, how to do cutoffs and relays in the 7th inning of the Rays Red Sox game. But guess what? I did. And I'm grateful for it now. I'm a junkie like that with you. Like you, I like to analyze the game. It's fun. And the relationships are what carry you through the rest of your life. And I think that's really special. On the football side, then, Zach, let's talk quickly about the game, Mike, because it is a big game. And Zach, I think you got a couple, or at least a question to kick us off here for Mike as the Ravens get ready to face the Bengals in about 30 hours.
Yeah, Mike, obviously you just talked about, Lamar Jackson. He doesn't look as athletic as usual because he's coming off of so many lower body injuries. Same with Joe Burrow. But what I kind of wanted to talk to you real fast about is big story in Baltimore has been this defense. And over the last 5 to 6 weeks, kind of the difference they've seen. They've moved Kyle Hamilton around. He's almost playing linebacker edge for the majority of times. But can you kind of talk about, just from what you've seen, Zach Orr, defensive coordinator, the adjustments he's made in kind of back-to-back years where, hey, it started out of the gate really slow, but this defense seems to be hitting their stride at the right time, and just kind of the things that you're seeing and what stood out to you?
Yeah, Zach, it goes back, I think, to the top, and I start with John Harbaugh. because when you're around an NFL team for 17 years as a head coach, which is rare, right? You get a certain confidence in what you do and how you go about it, and you don't make knee-jerk reactions. I think a year ago, you had a young, talented defensive coordinator named Zach Orr. They brought some guys in that had been there before him to help him through that transition. They got better as the year went on. This year, they started slow again. Now, I know a lot of head coaches would have been real worried about that and thinking about making changes and bringing different people in. And what I love about the Baltimore franchise in general is they don't panic. They've had 2 head coaches and 2 GMs for the last, 25 years, 30 years, whatever. They don't panic. And I always tell DaCosta, you guys know what a Raven looks like and smells like in the draft. Like, I used to know who the Ravens, what type of player. Like, oh, that's a Raven, that's a Raven, that's a Cowboy. The teams that know what they're doing, you can tell. And the Ravens are one of those teams. So they don't panic. They support Zach. The general manager brings some talent in before the deadline period's up. But this Kyle Hamilton guy, to me, was the catalyst a year ago. I don't know if you remember, but Ardarius Washington allowed them to move him around in the box. Mm-hmm. And that became a big deal last year. I think the development of the rookie Malachi Starks, who, by the way, I had to do a mock draft, and that's who I gave the Ravens. He looked and smelled like a Raven. So Malachi Starks, to me, is getting more comfortable. Loved him. Quick, explosive, tough kid. The acquisition of the other safety, Alohi Gilman, those 3 guys to me are really critical. And you don't usually talk about safeties, right? Mm-hmm. But because of Gilman and Starks and what they're capable of, you can now take Kyle Hamilton and call him whatever you want, nickel, dime, quarter, I don't care what you call him. They're using him as a joker week to week in different ways. And I give Zach Orr a lot of credit for that. They did a version of that last year, trying to get him up closer to the ball so he's more involved in both run and pass. He can rush the quarterback. He plays like a linebacker in the run game. He can cover tight ends, man-to-man. So he gives them a little bit of a perspective that's different than most teams. And I also mentioned Draymond Jones, number 41, jumped off tape a little bit. He brings an inside-outside presence that is physical and tough, that usually finishes at the quarterback. The kid from UConn, Jones, big, oh my God, is he talented? He's ultimately, I think, going to be an all-pro, Pro Bowl type player. So the development of the young guys, the confidence in Harbaugh with his entire defensive staff, making key moves like getting Kyle Hamilton up in the box 100% of the time, and bringing in Gilman and Draymond Jones, to me, is kind of, that's why good things happen with the Ravens. They never panic. They make smart decisions. And that's why every year they're in the hunt.
And I know people always they want more, right? You're the Ravens. We want you to see what championship. You have arguably the most talented quarterback in the NFL in Lamar Jackson. You should be getting the Super Bowl, and they haven't yet. But they are knocking on the door, and that's a part that people want to continue to pick at. I think John Harbaugh personally, for whether people are saying, oh, the messaging, no, you don't lose the messaging when your team continues to fight each time. And Harbaugh, I think, is more underrated as a coach than people will give credit. Everyone has their faults, though, right, Mike? Like everyone does. But I'm glad that you mentioned that the infrastructure allows the Ravens to have success. One Ravens-related question then, everyone talks about this O-line. Is it more in your mind that the O-line is actually a problem, or is it the fact that Lamar isn't healthy, or is it a combination? Or maybe in your mind it's not as bad as you think it is?
Well, the way I look at it is when Lamar is healthy and dynamic, he makes everybody look better.
Yeah.
Okay, the tailback looks better. All the wideouts look better. When Lamar is like he is right now, The only dynamic piece right now is number 4, Zay Flowers. And I think they're going to continue to find ways to get him the football. But as far as the offensive line concerned, if you kind of peel Ronnie Stanley off for a second, who's been there for plus or minus 10 years, the other guys are, second, third year players, and they're still developing as an offensive line. And I think you can see it when I watch it in the combination blocks and things that you learn to trust the guy next to you for a time frame over years, time on task. It's developing, and I think it's going to get better. But without the dynamic number 8 wearing the cape, everything gets hidden a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. 2 things get you out of here, Mike. Zach, do you have any follow-up you wanted to do?
I was just going to quickly say, we've talked about Lamar Jackson obviously dealing with injuries, but real fast, Joe Burrow, first game back coming off turf toe, honestly, a little bit earlier than maybe people thought. Originally, it was seen as mid-December. From experience and just kind of what are you expecting to see from Joe Burrow? Because we all know what he can be, but it's obviously going to be different with the toe injury. And, I mean, missing that amount of time, it's tough.
Yeah, I think we're talking about 2 of the 4 franchise quarterbacks in the NFL with these 2 guys. And both of them have had a struggle this year with the injuries. So from Burrow's side, he's kind of used to coming back from injury, unfortunately. And one of the things about being, you talk about your dad and being available, that's the only negative against Joe Burrow. This is his 3rd major injury in the last 5 years. Missing time, especially at the quarterback position in the NFL, that's really hard. What do I expect from him? I expect vintage Joe Burrow. Apparently, he's had about a week and a half of full practices, and they almost activated him last Sunday. I think they felt like he might have been able to go, but they wanted to play it safe. I expect full bore Joe Burrow. T. Higgins is out. Jamar Chase is a little pissed about the 1-game suspension. And I think one of the most underrated players in football is number 30, Chase Brown. I think he brings diversity to that offense.
And he's definitely finding a groove running the football. The Bengals have run the football better over the last few weeks. Jamar Chase always loves playing the Ravens. I think he put up about 3,000 yards last year against them. They had the one Thursday night game where the Bengals were a 2-point conversion and potentially, I thought it was a great call, but no call that could have been a penalty on the 2-point conversion. There's really 2 or 3 plays combined in the matchups, Mike, where the Ravens sweep the series last year, but it very well could have been the Bengals sweeping the series, for the year. And that's what they bring. And Joe Burrow, we mentioned earlier, players that elevate. Joe Burrow, what I hate when people say, oh, you know what, he's not as good as Lamar Jackson. Stop with that. I don't like those comparisons. Does Joe Burrow elevate your team? The answer is yes. Do teams believe when he steps on the field that they're better? Absolutely. And talk about a guy that doesn't panic. That's Joe Burrow. Yeah. Mike, before I let you get out of here, I got to ask then, last thing, what is more challenging in your mind? Negotiating a deal in commercial real estate or trying to extend a player as a general manager?
Well, it's a lot more fun as a general manager. And I grinded my ass off in commercial real estate for a lot of years and enjoyed it. Good people. But at the end of the day, anybody that played ball at any level knows that there's nothing like being in the building. And you get to Sunday, or in tomorrow night. I love being a broadcaster, but it's nothing like having skin in the game. So you miss it.
You're a football guy. You've been one of my favorites for all the years, Mike. So I'm really grateful that you took the time to come on today. I hope you have safe travels. Happy Thanksgiving. By the way, you're going to be a little busy, obviously, but it sounds like you're right where you want to be. At least in this case.
What's better than I got Baltimore tomorrow night and I got the Eagles in Chicago on Friday. So I'm living pretty good, man.
You are. Anything else that anywhere where people can find you if they want to know what's besides you being on WestWood One?
No, I do an Eagles podcast with my daughter. It's in Believe in Eagles, and she's the host.
Awesome. Well, if everyone wants to check out, it's over there on Believe Network covering the Eagles. And then, hey, you'll be hearing Mike tomorrow and just a football guy through and through. Well, I appreciate you, Mike. Happy holidays to you and your family. Safe travels, and look forward to talking to you down the road.
Ryan and Zach, thanks, fellas. Have a great day.
Awesome.
Thank you, too. Mike Mayock, everybody. I always love hearing the perspective, Zach. You know me, and I love hearing the ins and outs. I love that he loves what he does. He loves football. And if you're passionate about something, you got to follow your heart, and that's why he's still around the game.
Yeah,
and
you
really
could tell
cool.
at the end.
Great insights.
he was. If you asked him right now, put a team together and go out there, he would. I mean, that was awesome. The passion, just you could feel it through the screen, and those are the best people to talk to. They are just everything. And man, you think about the human side of things with the Max Crosby story. And it's like, hey, we knew this was a thing. We're going and visiting him in rehab to show him that he's got this support. And it's the things that, it's not just the X's and O's. So many people think it's like, oh, who puts up the best stats, go get them. It takes a lot to build a team and that. So very, very cool to hear him talk about this and just his perspectives.
He's great, and we got a good preview on what he expects. He expects vintage Joe Burrow. He loves the direction that some of the defensive players are going for the Ravens, and he is a big believer in what the Orioles, Ravens organization has done. So, Zach, I think that kind of does it for this show. We got our baseball talk in. We had a great interview with Mike Mayock. Appreciate him. We appreciate all of you. We are not rooting for Loyola or Calvert Hall in this game.
Baby. Roll Downs.
Go Hounds. That's right. Go Hounds.
And yes, Joe saw that South Florida head coach is going to Arkansas. So Arkansas got a new football head coach. We'll see. And you know what, Joe? I regret putting your comment up now after you just put that. So I should have never talked about the Arkansas thing.
Go Hounds, baby. Well, we appreciate each and every one of you. Zach, can you hear the music?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. We're rocking today.
Bow, 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 bow.
As always, here at the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day, have a night, have a great and safe Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week for a brand new edition of the Ryan Ripken Show, or whenever news breaks. We don't see you guys. Appreciate you guys.